6:47 p.m., Ethan turns the key in the lock of his suburban fortress. The day's metrics are in his head: closed the Q3 deal, navigated a shareholder call, managed a team pivot. A solid 85% productivity score. He's ready for the final, most critical handoff of the day. He pushes the door open, and the sound that hits him isn't the calm hum of a well-oiled domestic operation. It's a primal system failure siren. YAAH! POV, you're the CEO walking into your company just as the servers melt down. In the living room, the scene is chaos. Milo, his 10-month-old son, is in his mother Lena's arms, face beat, red, tears and snot creating a liquidity crisis on his onesie. His little body is arched in a back-breaking sob. The moment Milo's eyes lock on Ethan, the volume spikes. It's not a greeting. It's a full-blown, code-red emotional dump. Lena's face is a masterclass in exhausted confusion. For 12 hours, she'd been the sole operator of Milo Inc., a venture with infinite demand and zero revenue. I don't get it? Lena says, her voice tight. She's bouncing Milo, who is now reaching for Ethan like he's a life raft on the Titanic. He was perfect. We had a perfect day. And now this. Ethan drops his bag, the weight of the corporate world nothing compared to this. He takes the writhing, screaming bundle. Instantly, Milo's cries shudder into hiccups, then dissolve into wet, shuddering sighs against Ethan's shoulder. The crisis is contained. The fix was simple: a change in management. And that's the gut punch. Lena looks at her hands, then at the scene of her supposed failure, now calm in her husband's arms. Maybe he's just tired? Ethan offers, the classic, useless corporate platitude. It's the equivalent of, let's circle back on that. He's not tired, Ethan. He was fine. Lena snaps, the frustration boiling over. He sees you, and it's like I've been gaslighting him all day. Like I've been the boring, stable index fund, and you just walked in as the meme stock shooting to the moon. She sinks onto the couch, the fight gone. I read the blogs. I follow the parenting influencers. They make it seem like if you just optimize the routine, if you're present enough, you get this dividend of calm. And instead, I get this. Every single day. Let's talk data. This isn't just a bad feeling. It's a documented phenomenon. In child development, it's called accumulated stress release, or secure base crying. The child holds it together all day with their primary attachment figure because that relationship is their bedrock, their operating system. They feel safe enough to manage their stress. Then, the secondary attachment figure, often the parent who's been out in the world, arrives. That's the signal. The safety net doubles. The child's brain goes, "Finally, backup is here. I can now offload all the emotional baggage I've been carrying since that weird noise at 11 a.m. and the slightly too cold puree at lunch." It's not a failure of the primary caregiver. It's a testament to their success. They've built a platform so stable, the child uses it as a launch pad to express everything they couldn't process alone. Think of it like a startup's founding team. The CEO, Lina, is in the trenches, dealing with daily fires, payroll, product bugs. She's the system. The venture capitalist, as Ethan, swings by for the board meeting. The team doesn't complain to the CEO in the moment. They're busy surviving. They save all the big, existential problems for the VC. The servers are on fire! We're out of cash. It's not because the VC is better. It's because his arrival represents a moment of potential rescue, a chance to be heard by a different kind of authority. Lena built the entire company today. Milo's tearful pivot to Ethan isn't a rejection. It's a merger and acquisition proposal. But try telling that to a founder watching users flock to a flashy new app. Ethan sways with Milo, who is now gumming his collar. The storm passed. The silence is heavier than the scream. I feel like I'm failing the core KPI. Lena whispers, the business jargon making the pain even sharper. The one that matters. Here's the brutal, beautiful lesson from the front lines of early, stage parenting. A lesson every founder needs to learn. Your most important work is often invisible on the daily P&L. Look at the history of iconic companies. The late nights Steve Jobs spent obsessing over the curvature of the original iMac. Work that seemed like insane, unprofitable perfectionism. The years Amazon spent plowing every cent of revenue back into infrastructure, reporting losses quarter after quarter while building an unbeatable MOA. Jeff Bezos was getting crucified by Wall Street analysts, the primary caregivers of shareholder value, while he was building the future. The daily metrics looked like failure. The long-term equity was being built in the shadows. Lena's perfect day with Milo wasn't perfect because he was silent. It was perfect because she was building the infrastructure, the neural pathways of security, the emotional algorithms of trust. Milo's evening meltdown. That's the stress test. That's the system saying, the platform you built is so robust. I can now run my most demanding diagnostic, a total emotional dump. Ethan walks over, Milo asleep on his shoulder, a living, breathing testament to completed due diligence. He sits next to Lena. You know what this reminds me of? He says, his voice low. The Baxter deal? Lena looks up, wary. Remember? I was the one flying to New York, doing the dog and pony show for the investors. The fancy dinners, the big presentation. I got the champagne toast. I got the hero photo. He adjusts Milo's head. But you were the one who stayed back and rewrote the entire financial model at 2 a.m. for 3 nights straight. You found the flaw in their projections. You built the deck that made the pitch unassailable. Without your work, the deal collapses. My win was just the final, noisy signature on a contract you'd already written. He lets that hang in the air, the valuation of invisible work. This, he says, nodding to the sleeping child, is your 2 a.m. financial model. This cry isn't him firing you. It's him presenting you with the final audit. And the books are solid. Lena leans her head on his shoulder, a single tear tracing a different path than Milo's. It's not a tear of sadness. It's a dividend. The baby monitor crackles softly in the quiet room. The crisis is over. For now. Okay, let's cut the crap. You think Milo's meltdown is a bug. It's a feature. This isn't a system crash. It's a full-scale, real, time-stress test of the platform Lena spent all day building. POV, you're the server. You've been running perfectly for 12 hours straight. Zero downtime. Then, the lead engineer, Ethan, walks in for the nightly audit. What do? You dump the entire log file. Every catched emotion, every micro, stress from a slightly, too, loud garbage truck, every frustration from a toy that wouldn't fit. You purge it all onto the one system you know can handle the load. That's not a failure. That's a goddamn compliment. We've been gaslit by parenting blogs for decades. They call it separation anxiety. That's the corporate spin. The PR friendly lie. The real term, reunion stress discharge. The science is brutal and beautiful. Think of it like this: in 1999, Jeff Bezos held an all-hands meeting. Amazon stock had just cratered 80%. The room was silent. He didn't talk about quarterly profits. He stood up and drew a simple graph on a whiteboard. "This is our growth," he said, pointing to a line going up and to the right. "This is our current stock price," he said, drawing a line plunging off a cliff. Look at the disconnect. The meltdown wasn't a sign the company was failing. It was the market finally processing the insane, unprecedented scale of what he was building. The cry was the correction. Milo's brain is doing the same math. Here's the neurological drama, shot like a heist movie. The moment Ethan's key turns in the lock, Milo's amygdala, the tiny, ancient alarm system in his brain, goes from green to yellow. It's not fear, it's recognition. The primary backup is online. The stress hormones cortisol and adrenaline, which have been buzzing at a low, manageable hum all day, see an exit strategy. They spike. This is the signal to evacuate. The prefrontal cortex, the CEO of the brain, the part that manages executive function and emotional regulation, is still under construction. It's a startup with a skeleton crew. It can handle the day-to-day operations with one dedicated caregiver, but a complex merger, a handoff, it needs to offload, so it does what any smart, overwhelmed startup does. It initiates a controlled burn. It directs all that biochemical chaos toward the safe harbor. Ethan. This is the science of attachment, and it's the same blueprint behind every iconic partnership in business history. Take Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Woz was the builder, the relentless, invisible engineer who wrote the code and soldered the boards in a silent, focused marathon. Jobs was the face, the disruptor who would walk into a meeting and emotionally decompress all the tension, the frustration, the creative friction onto. Woz built the perfect, stable system. Jobs was the release valve. One couldn't function without the other's meltdown. Lena was Woz. Ethan is Jobs. The crying isn't Milo saying Lena's product is bad. He's saying it's so robust, so secure, that he can finally run the vulnerability scan. He's checking for memory leaks. And the scan is passing because Ethan is there to catch the data dump. Look at the data from the Minnesota Parent Child Project. They followed families for decades. The kids who were labeled securely attached, the ones who felt safe enough to fall apart with a parent, weren't the coddled, quiet ones. They were the ones who, as adults, had higher resilience, better stress management, and more successful relationships. Their childhood meltdowns were literal equity building. The daily P&L looked messy. The long-term balance sheet was being forged in fire. So let's reframe the entire scene with this new code. Ethan is holding Milo, who is now a limp, damp bundle of completed diagnostics. Lena is on the couch, watching the post-mortem. The monitor crackles. It feels like a rejection. Lena says, the business jargon stripped away, raw. It's a data transfer. Ethan says, his voice the calm of a server farm. You were the primary node all day. You handled every request. Hunger, boredom, a weird shadow, the existential crisis of a dropped Cheerio. Your uptime was 100%. My login triggered the nightly backup. He's not firing you. He's syncing his cloud to mine. He walks over, sits beside her. Remember the launch of Gmail, 2004. Invite only. 1 gigabyte of storage when Hotmail offered 2 megabytes. The servers were getting hammered. People thought it was a disaster. It was a flex. The demand proved the infrastructure was necessary. You built the 1 gigabyte storage today. This cry. He nods to Milo. That's the user demand crashing the old paradigm. He lets that hang. The valuation of a secure base. Lena looks at Milo's peaceful, sleeping face, then at Ethan. The puzzle pieces click. Her perfect day wasn't the goal. It was the infrastructure. The meltdown wasn't the failure. It was the product market fit. The baby monitor emits a soft, staticky sigh. The audit is complete. The system integrity is confirmed. But the real, time drama is just loading the next scene. Because now, the brain has confirmed the backup is viable. The trust is established. The protocol is set. And the next phase, the phase where the system learns to integrate 2 primary nodes simultaneously, to balance the load, to truly scale, is a whole new. The clock on the wall ticks. It's 8:17 p.m. In the silent living room, a new kind of tension builds. Not the tension of a crisis, but the tension of a platform about to iterate. Version 2.0 is waiting in the wings, and the update always comes when you least expect it. The clock hits 8:17 p.m. The audit is complete. The system integrity is confirmed. Cue the neurochemical cascade. Here's the POV you're not getting. Inside Milo's tiny, developing brain, it's not a meltdown. It's a board meeting, and the vote just passed. All day, the stress hormone cortisol has been the obnoxious VC in the room, demanding growth, pushing the limits of the system. Lena, as the primary node, managed every request, but the cortisol had nowhere to go. It was piling up in the corporate coffers, a toxic asset on the balance sheet. Ethan's arrival. That's the Series A funding round from a trusted investor. The moment the term sheet is signed, the company can finally exhale. The cortisol plummets. It's the stock price crashing from overvaluation back to a sustainable, real number. The 2000.com bubble just popped inside a baby's amygdala, and it's a good thing. Now, enter oxytocin, the bonding chemical, the trust hormone. It's not some soft, fluffy unicorn. It's the blockchain. It's the secure, encrypted ledger that syncs between Ethan and Milo, verifying the transaction, safe harbor confirmed, backup viable, transfer complete. Look at the data from the Minnesota Parent-Child Project, the longitudinal study. That's the Google Analytics of human attachment. They tracked families for decades. The kids labeled, securely attached. The ones who had a safe harbor to crash into weren't the quiet, compliant employees. They were the founders. As adults, they showed 32% higher stress resilience, better conflict resolution in relationships. Their corporate partnerships didn't implode, and their childhood meltdowns were the daily scrum meetings that felt chaotic, but were building the agile framework for a billion-dollar life. So let's zoom in on the final scene. Hollywood ending, but with the gritty reality TV confessionals. Ethan is on the couch, Milo a damp, sleeping bundle of post-deal exhaustion on his chest. Lena is beside him, finally seeing the code behind the chaos. It still feels like getting voted off the island. Lena says, the business jargon gone. Raw? Real. I built the shelter, gathered the food, kept the fire alive all day. Then you walk in and he gives you the immunity necklace. Ethan doesn't look at her. He's watching Milo's eyelids flutter, running the post mortem. Wrong show. Think Shark Tank. You built the product prototype. Airtight. Functional. You did the R&D grind. My walk-in was the demo day. His cry was the pitch. It wasn't, "This sucks." It was, "The market is ready. The infrastructure is proven. Now, let's talk scale." The tears were the market validation. He shifts, the baby sighing. You know what kills more startups than anything? Not failure. Success. Premature scaling. You try to go from 10 to 10,000 users before the servers can handle it. You crash. You were the server today. You handled 100% uptime. My login was the stress test. And we passed. The servers held. Now we know the architecture works. Lena leans her head on his shoulder. The puzzle isn't just clicking, it's rendering in 4K. Her perfect, quiet day wasn't the product. It was the minimum viable product. The MVP. The proof of concept. The meltdown wasn't a bug report. It was the first 10 Zalozan sign, ups crashing the landing page. A beautiful, chaotic sign, you've got something people want. The monitor emits one last, soft crackle of static. The quarterly report is filed. But this is business. There's no finish line. Only the next funding round. The real, time drama loads the next scene. Because the brain, that ruthless CEO, has now confirmed the backup is not just viable, but optimal. The trust protocol is established. The load balancing algorithm is being written, and the next phase, version 2.0, it's a pivot. It's integrating two primary nodes into a seamless, scalable cloud. It's when Milo learns he doesn't have to dump all his data onto one server. He can sync simultaneously. He can run to Lena for comfort even when Ethan's in the room. He can handle the handoff without a system crash. This is the engineering hell of scaling a unicorn startup called a family. Think about the most brutal tech pivots in history. Netflix mailing DVDs to streaming. Apple ditching the headphone jack. Twitter trying to be whatever it's trying to be. It's messy. It's full of glitches, user complaints, and internal screaming matches in Slack. That's the next 18 months for Ethan and Lena. The clock ticks to 8:23 p.m. In the silent living room, the tension isn't crisis anymore. It's potential energy. It's the quiet in the garage the night before a launch. It's the calm in the boardroom after the merger is approved, but before the real work of integration begins. Lina looks at Ethan holding their son. The invisible work of being a safe harbor isn't about preventing the storm. It's about being the pier that remains standing after the hurricane makes landfall. You don't get a medal for it. Your ROI is measured in decades, not quarters. The lesson for every entrepreneur, every leader, every human: your most vital asset isn't on your balance sheet. It's the secure base you build. For your team, your customers, your family. It's the permission you give for people to fall apart so they can rebuild stronger. It's the oxytocin sink that beats a cortisol spike every single time. Steve Jobs had was. Every Jobs needs a was. Every visionary needs a stable system to crash into. Every front end needs a back end. Ethan is the front end. The volatile, visionary UI where the drama happens. Lena is the back end, the robust, reliable server code that never gets the glory. And Milo. He's the user, the whole point of the damn company. The update always comes when you least expect it. A new feature request at 2 a.m. A sudden market shift at the grocery store. A total platform migration called puberty. But for now, at 8:26 p.m., The system is stable. The servers are humming. The invisible, vital work is done. Roll credits. Fade to black.